so much for coming to Emma Edith's funeral. We're going to hear a few speeches. We're going to say some Tehillim, and then we're going to engage in this mitzvah for the immediate family to take seats. So we gather today to celebrate the life of Emma Edith. We have family here, we have friends here. We have the 3 children of Grandma Edith, Uncle Gary, Uncle David, my mom are here. We have Aunt Gail who's here. Okay. My dad, of course, is here. Cousin Heidi is here. Great grandson Jordan is here. Cousins that came. Where's Doug? Doug Kibbleman. That's right over here. And Steve Shavers. Steve Shavers is here. And all the friends and everybody who came in on Zoom, thank you so much. And for the people that are helping run the Zoom. I want to give an honorable mention to Janie and Kitty. Where is Janie and Kitty? Close friends of Grandma who are here. The nursing staff who were so wonderful. Margaret, where's Margaret? Margaret said that one of her first friends was my mom growing up, and she really just took such special care of Grandma, such special care. And Dr. Aaron Makins is here. We just want to say thank you to the doctor as well, who just had so much love and support for Grandma. And to Joy, where's Joy? Joy, thank you so much for flying out and helping with Tahara. And Meryl. Meryl's here, thank you for helping with Tahara. And Peter for helping out with Tahara. I wanted us to begin with the follows. You know, we said, it's generally said at a funeral, we ask forgiveness. We turn to Grandma Edith and say, if there's any way we did kavod, if any way we did the rabbi part, but as a son, we really, really honored your mother always, and you honored your mother during this difficult period. And Dad, for staying up all night, being the shomer, 2 nights in a row staying up, saying Tehillim. But I have memories of your mom on the headphones talking to Grandma, Thursday night dishes. And throughout the years, your headphones graduated from the dinky ones, the different types, but the conversation with Grandma was always the same. It was you talking with Grandma. I know you're going to miss these conversations. But I just want to say that your kibbutz aim was enormous, and I'm going to hand the microphone to you to say a few words, if you're ready.
Okay, so I'll try not to read. We've come here today to say goodbye to Edith Porter. And although there were many people in my mother's life, including the 10 great-grandchildren, I'm going to give you a little slice of my mom's life from my perspective, the perspective of her only daughter, Carol Ann. In one of my daily check-ins with my mother, I asked the usual question, how are you doing? My mother replied, I felt so rotten today that I wasn't even sure if I would make it to the beauty shop. And then she paused to say, but when it comes to going to the beauty shop, you crawl there if you need to. My mother told me many times over that money spent at the beauty shop was money well spent. Up until recently, my mother routinely fluffed her hair and applied lipstick before she made the trek down to the dining room. She never lost her sense of dignity and made sure she was put together before she shut the door to her room. After my mother surrendered her house in a standoff with me, not only did she accept and own the next stage of living, she would speak of it as if it were her idea. She had decided she would move to the assisted living. It was at this stage of her life, with all her identities stripped away, that I could see what was essential in my mother. She didn't take life casually. Life was to be invested in and fully committed to. My mother was a woman brimming with judgments, passions, and opinions about everything. The solar eclipse was a wonderful event because you didn't have to be a Republican or Democrat to enjoy it. The new cook at the assisted living, he's terrible. He doesn't even know how to cook like the other one did. What's important in life? You always have to have something to look forward to. And when things don't go your way, my mom would say, the band can't be playing all the time. This wouldn't be a rounded goodbye to my mom without telling you some things you might not have known about her. My mom was born in a small town in Manitoba, Canada. She had a younger sister and an older brother, and she was such a skinny little girl that her mom would add things like butter or an egg to whatever she ate. After my mom graduated from high school, she went to secretary school in Winnipeg and lived with her Aunt Becky, Uncle Beryl, and assorted cousins. Her Uncle Beryl owned a kosher butcher shop, and her aunt was an excellent cook. My mom said that there was a constant flurry of meat delicacies and luscious baked goods coming out of the oven. My parents actually met through my mom's parents, the Canadian grandparents, who had a fur coat business and would drive down to Mina to buy raw furs, and from my dad to make the fur coats. During a business trip to Mina, I've lost my place. Hold on a second. During a business driving to Mina to buy the raw furs from my dad to make the coats, my grandparents brought young, beautiful Edith with them. My parents' courtship was quick, and they soon married, and thus began the history of Gary, David, and me, Carol Ann. My mom remained sharp and intelligent all the way up to the end of her life. In her younger years, she took a lot of pride in her cooking, and like me, my mom thoroughly enjoyed collecting dishes and serving pieces to set a beautiful table for friends and family. Up until recently, my mom always had a good book going and could easily tell you her strong political views, what rock star was coming out of rehab, and what actress was getting married for the 4th time. My mom knew a lot about a lot of things. She could make small repairs in her home. She could handle her aunt's problems by herself, by first spraying them with poison. If that didn't work, she would boil the kettle and pour it down their hole. My kids were just like, they thought that was the funniest thing they ever saw. So, anyway, the time is coming closer for me to say goodbye to this tiny, determined woman who was my mother. Sometimes when I come to the end of a really good movie, I don't want to just let the experience go. I start to look up the cast of characters and read about each one. And after that, if I still want to linger, I will go and read any review I can find. But there comes the time of finality. I'm coming to a close to this tribute of my mother with something Oprah Winfrey said at the funeral of Rosa Parks. I marvel at your will. I celebrate your strength to this day, and I'm forever grateful. Goodbye, my mom. May you have everlasting shalom and peace inside your soul.
Okay, so I'm going to read the voice piece for Uncle David and Gail, cousin Michael. I was at the airport. I was looking out the window, and cousin Michael came with such warmth, and he tapped me on the shoulder. It was such a breath of fresh air. And he shared with me the following story. Just a little vignette. Talk about Grandma's wit and her sense of humor. Michael was sitting there at a meal with his wife and Grandma, and he wasn't finishing his meal. And Grandma looked at him and said, "Well, don't be a sissy." And just a little thing like that, reminiscing the fact, like Grandma was saying, finish the meal. It was done in a loving way, but it was done in a sharp way. And, Uncle David the story you gave about Ringo, the dog. Speaking of the video for the full details, but the fact that Grandma had to deal with that dog catcher and all the fun adventures you went through as a child. Speak to them for David there and we should have for the full details. I want to say Committal to Hillen. Before then, I call upon cousin Heidi and Uncle Gary. Shir amalo simama kim v'sicha Adonai Adonai shma v'koli tiyana aznecha shuva zekot achnunai im avonos shmoya Adonai miyamon kim chasicha leman tivarei ki v'si Adonai yuzanashi v'dvarach oti Ashur Adonai Mishum Naboker Shomrim Naboker Yachel Yisrael Adonai Kivrei Chesed V'Arbei Mofedus V'ud Yisrael Mikol Avonosav. And that song, written by David the king, basically talks about how we reach out to God from the depths of our heart, and then we believe that God is the Shomer, He's the guardian. He's the guardian of souls. We believe there's a body, and we believe there's a soul. And then when the body expires, the soul goes on and the soul is still living. Not to get all spiritual on here, but there are sources, mystical sources from the Talmud that discuss the awareness the soul has during the eulogies and certain rich laws of what you're allowed to say and not allowed to say, knowing there's a certain awareness the soul has of things that are being said. So that's just a little bit of an into the Shir Malas. 2000 Heidi. A lot of details went behind the scenes, just in terms of the washing cup, the box cutter, making sure that the obituary is written beautifully. I just want to quote from Heidi. We're gonna hear a few words from Heidi. We're gonna hear a few words from Gary. That the Heidi was reminiscing how Grandma used to attend her flute concerts growing up, and they shared a very special relationship. They talk about the books that she was reading, talk about the latest movie. And we know Grandma, she was an avid reader, we know she was sharp. And her favorite foods, bread pudding, chocolate cake, anything with chocolate in it, there's always room for chocolate cake. And you had to look forward to something, and she always looked forward to that chocolate cake with you. And her love for babies. When the boys were born, Andrew and Jordan, she was the first to sit and hold them. And they fell asleep in her arms. And she really cherished that special bond. She cherished that special bond that she had with Andrew and Jordan. Jordan, he mentioned the valuable memories with Grandma. He pointed out that he just updated her on his life and how she was excited to hear about it. He was going to University of Kansas and then left, and then he was going to work, and she was just happy that he was doing well. She celebrated in his success. And he also then mentioned that if you look on the refrigerator at Grandma's where she's living, you'll see pictures of children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. That was the kahila. That was her community that she's surrounded. She was very, very proud. She was very, very proud of her family. He did mention a story that she did love her flowers, and that there was this particular deer that was eating one of her flowers, and Grandma had some choice words to say about that deer. But Jordan recalled how everyone was sitting around a campfire, and she seemed so tranquil, so ethereal, so at peace. And those small moments of raw emotion stick with him the most. That sense of love for the family, her raw, authentic personality coming out, being willing to say what the truth was, being present, being truly there. And Andrew wanted to mention three things. Number one, the Memorial Day visits. And you remember hanging out with Grandma watching the National Lacrosse Championship. And then one night he couldn't sleep. And there was some sort of energy in the room, he didn't know what it was, and he went into the closet and he found these old encyclopedias, old razor blades. And it was really, really cool, but when he thought about it more deeply, he thought, this is actually the end of an era. Grandma was a link of tremendous history. She was the matriarch of the family. And door to door, we pass on that light that Grandma had, all her way of life, all her spunk, all her intelligence, everything she cared about, and we pass it on to the next generation. So I'm going to call upon Cousin Heidi to say a few words, and then Uncle Gary. Cousin Heidi.
Thank you all for listening, for it seems like when you look at all the different things that she was involved in, today she was the last, living 97 years. And so as we look at things as they are now, it definitely is an end of an era. As I look back on my time with her, and go back to when I was 2 years old, we were walking down the street, and my mother and my Aunt Pearl, Stephen's mother, and I was a complete terror. And they decided they were so embarrassed that they walked away and left me. And a woman walked up and she said, "Well, what's the matter, little boy?" And I looked at her and I said, "You shut up." My mouth off right away. But that's over time, she finally was able to get me to be at least a little decent as I grew up. My mother was all family, always thinking about children, always thinking about grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Every event that we had, she was there. And I can remember meeting up with her in Minneapolis as my wife and I flew from Fargo and going to various weddings that Carol's children were having. We went to bar mitzvahs in Winnipeg. She always made it a point to be there. And I think that was something that I always admired. As time went on, as many of you know, I got involved in politics. My mother was always a Canadian citizen, so she couldn't vote for me. And for some reason, my dad wanted her to remain a Canadian citizen. In 1994, when I ran for Congress, she decided enough was enough. She was going to become an American citizen, and she did. And that was kind of the beginning of her political coming out. And over time, we used to have various discussions about politics. But one thing I found, that as time went on, I always remained the moderate, but she started to become the conservative. And as time continued on, she became more and more conservative, to where we had some pretty interesting arguments. And I'll tell you, each time I used to call her, when we got finished, I had to spend the next couple of weeks researching to find out how I was going to be able to take care of the arguments that she was bringing up, because she was pretty good at standing her ground and making sure that she knew what she was talking about and that I didn't. So, but right to the end, I was here 2 weeks ago, as she was starting to go down. And we still had the same kind of arguments. She was still right, and I was always wrong. At least she thought so anyway. But it was fun. It was enjoyable. And as we come now to the end of this era, it's time to say goodbye. And it's time to remember. That's one thing I will never forget. It's her kindness, her thoughtfulness, and how she always looked out.
Ending of Psalm 121. Shir l'malos ezenai elarimiya in yovo Ezri m'adina yoseh shemai varetz Al yitein v'lecha yanum shemecha Hinei lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael Adonai shemecha Adonai tzilcha yad minecha Yom ha'shemesh lo yakeka v'yareach b'layla Adonai yishmecha v'kora yishmor es nafshecha Adonai yishmor tzidcha bo'echa mi'ata v'yareila. That Tehillim that we just said, that God is the Shomer, He is the guardian of Israel, I've talked to Grandma many times on the phone where she'd talk about her just caring about Israel and making sure that people cared about Israel. And she was a proud Jew. You went to her room, you see the mezuzah on the wall, you see Judaica around. She cared. She never hid her Judaism. She was proudly Jewish. And there's a holiday coming up of Shavuot. Shavuot is the holiday where we celebrate that we received the Torah. And there's a verse that says, "Vayihi Aaron," that the Torah traveled around. And if you think about it, Grandma was, as he's mentioned, 97 years old, a proud Jew living in an area. There aren't many Jews living. And she had her mezuzah there by the door to care for Israel. Vayihi Aaron. It traveled. And just like when we say that at the mountain that the Torah was given, there were flowers. In the middle of the desert, flowers bloomed. She was able to have that connection to Israel. That's a real connection that she had. She always was talking about making sure. And then October 7th really broke her heart, as it broke all of her hearts. And she really did care in a visceral way. Shomer Yisrael, to care about Israel, to guard Israel. And I mentioned flowers. There's this custom that you're supposed to decorate the synagogue with flowers. So when I fly back to my synagogue and deal with the orders and putting it together, you're supposed to beautify that synagogue. Grandma had a unique relationship with beauty because she appreciated it. She appreciated it. It was during COVID that I called her and I said, "Grandma, you can't go anywhere. You got to make sure to stay inside." And she said, "I'm going to the beauty shop. I'm going to go. You can't." And I said, "But Grandma, you got to stay." And not exactly, but basically said, "I'd rather die than not go to the beauty shop." And I'm going. And she did, and she went, and she was made sure to take care because she appreciated beauty, and she loved putting together beautiful food on a beautiful table. And Gail, you mentioned how you bonded together over food when there was like a culinary class that you went to her house, and you made Chinese food, right? And you did that together. And she would love the way it would look. She would put that together, and I see that quality in my mom too. My mom loves putting together beautiful food and also the presentation. I even saw the Torah travels with you. And here was someone who was a proud Jew, here in North Dakota, strongly caring about Israel, and not hiding her Judaism. I want to give voice to my siblings who I see on Zoom. I see Rebecca's face there. I'm sure Jessica's behind you on the Zoom. Davi. I just want to give voice to certain things they mentioned to me to mention here today. Davi and Rebecca spoke about the fact that Grandma would always send birthday cards and Hanukkah cards like clockwork, and I'm sure other great-grandchildren could agree, and grandchildren could agree to that. Davi just quoted me, said she was a quintessential grandma, a great sense of humor, and we know Grandma's sense of humor. Did she love to laugh? So I remember once seeing her laugh when she cried. She just thought something was so funny. And she didn't filter it out. She said the truth. She created a legacy and a big family, and I'll miss her very much. Rebecca noted how unbelievably sharp Grandma was and aware at 97. Uncle Gary's talking about how he has to do research. He has to hire a research assistant to deal with those conversations, right? She was sharp. She was up to date in the news. She was up to date, as my mom said, on the latest actress or actor who got married 4 times. She knew what was going on. And says Rebecca, she really cared about me. And she cared about being dignified. And she had a certain, she had opinions, and she wouldn't back down. And Jess, she shared that Grandma was truly one of her favorite people in the whole world. And that she's going to miss laughing with her. And all the fun adventures they had, whether it was in the German Bratwurst Festival at the Moose Lodge. You wrote over here, Grandma milked her walker so he could cut the line and laugh the whole way. That was an addition, Jess. I didn't read that line. Whether it was at the art auction in Rural Relax. You loved being in her company. You loved laughing together. And Jess shared something very poignant with me, that Jessica got married a little bit later in life. And there's like a show, Soon By You, Mirza Shem By You, there's like a TV show that talks about like the pressure that, someone could feel when they go to a wedding and they say, "Oh, soon enough we'll be by you." Like, "Thank you very much. Just let me eat in peace over here." But she said that Grandma gave her permission. She said, "Don't feel pressure. Feel safe. You'll find the right person at the right time." And she gave Jessica the message of living her best life. And that really meant a lot to Jessica. She said she felt that she got that message from her grandma Edith. There was never pressure from her. And she had such a unique story of being from a homesteader family. Her father being in the fur business, Grandpa Harold, who you see over here. This is the first time I'm here seeing Grandpa Harold's tombstone. And how he met Grandpa Harold, and how this is the end of an era, as Uncle Gary said. And it meant so much to her that Grandma went to her wedding, and it's going to be time to process this. And that the last time she saw her, Priya had just turned 1, Priya is Jessica's daughter, and started crawling. And she actually, she was still crawling, and then she was walking on her walker, and Grandma was walking on her walker. And Priya launched off and learned how to walk right there, her first steps in front of Grandma. And Grandma was so proud to witness that milestone. And Jess was so happy that her grandma was able to share in that experience. And Grandma said her favorite memories were up at the lake with her siblings. She could use this old washing machine crank thing, and once flew off the table and everyone laughed. She loved to laugh and find good people to be around to laugh with. She was an amazing driver. I unfortunately did not inherit that particular quality, Grandma. But amazing driver, and you loved your independence. You enjoyed your bridge, and when you had your bridge ladies there, you better take a piece of chocolate cake. Don't tell me you're on a diet. Everyone has to take a nice slice of chocolate cake. You got to look forward to something. And she was someone that took care of herself. She took very good care of herself. And that might be the secret to her longevity, 97. She enjoyed having her friends. She enjoyed it in the bridge club. And she took it seriously. And she always leaned into her experiences. She knew how to enjoy herself. She knew how to take care of herself. She had a strong sense of self and determination. And I admire that about her, and I'll miss her. At this point, I'm going to ask if anyone here wants to say a few words. And if not, then we're going to begin the process of the mitzvah of burial itself, which is considered a mace mitzvah, a very special commandment to bury someone in a dignified way. So I'm going to ask if there's anyone who wants to come forward, someone who wants to spontaneously speak, you can. Otherwise, we will continue the service. So if anyone wants to say something. Okay. So on behalf of those who did the Tahara, Grandma, on behalf of my parents, my uncles, on behalf of all the family that's here, extended family and friends, Grandma, I ask you for forgiveness if we fell short of your honor in any way. We want to do what is right for you, honor you the best way possible. And as we engage in this mitzvah right now, as we lower, I want you to know where are the shovels? Can you grab the shovels? I want you to notice when I shovel for the first 3 times, I'm going to do it backwards. And that's a custom that is rooted in the hesitancy that we engage in this commandment. On the one hand, we're going to bury. On the other hand, I'm going to begin by just going backwards 3 times just to show that hesitancy. I'm not going to pass the shovel to anybody directly. I'm going to put it back into the earth. And that's basically just in terms of the ritual. I'll do the first time 3 times backwards. You don't have to do that. You can just shovel regularly. But don't hand the shovel to the next person. Just put the shovel back into the ground when you're done, and then someone else will take it out again, representing that hesitancy. Okay, so we can just bring the shovels here, and then you can help with the lowering. While we're waiting for them to lower, I thought it could be meaningful if I sang Aisha style. Someone who As an Asian style. By the way, Cousin Heidi, thank you so much for writing this beautiful obituary. But you've heard over here, it's hard to remember all the numbers. 7 grandchildren, 10 great-grandchildren, right? So she is a matriarch. She certainly leaves a legacy, so we're going to sing Asian style that is richly done Friday night. Talking about the woman of valor. This was the matriarch. We just lost the matriarch. We honor that. So I'm going to sing Asian style as the lower scramble. Asian style means so it up me patach balei dialo v'shalom yesar Gulasu tov v'lo rako yemei chayeha Darshat zemehu fishim B'daz chebes kapeha Ha'isakani yasocher Mimechakta bilachma V'takom yom layla V'tinter D'veiz v'chol naseh Zama Sene v'digacheyu Mipri chapen atukadem Chagabios masnea V'tamiz roseha Tamakito sachra Lo yichbe b'layla ne'al yadei shilcha makishor V'chapeh adam u'balech Kapar pasliani Ve'yadei shilcha le'ever V'siya le'veisa mishalek V'le'veisa le'vushanim Marvadim asala She'shiyagnu le'vusha Nodem v'sharim mi'alo v'shivto im ziknei aretz Sadi nasa v'tilkor v'chagor nasa l'knani Oze adar lemusha v'tisa l'yom ha'charon Pia pascha v'chachma v'soras chesed al lishon Azafia lichos beisa v'lechem etzos lo sochel Kovanem v'yashrua Halavaya, Halav, Rabos, Panos, Zechayil, V'yarales, Hakol, Ana, Sheker, Achen, V'hevel, Hayofi, Yishayir, Asadonai, Hitis, Halal, Tenula, Mipri, Adeh, V'yalelu v'sharim ma'aseh.
Okay, if you could just hold the microphone for me. So we call upon anybody who would want to participate in this mitzvah.